rewiring ourselves for healthy love means being available for the people who are actually choosing us, not the ones who are rejecting us or giving us these breadcrumbs of love. And we're seeing that as incentive to do more.
If you spend the time doing that, then your responsibility is in what you're allowing. Underlying that behavior for most of us, certainly for me it was the case, was like, I'm so terrified of being chosen that I would rather be in this fantasy game of chase, or this like feeling of like I could make something out of nothing, because real love is kind of terrifying.
That is such a deep aspect of the work, is like allowing that healthy love to be even something that we are available for. A woman who is in that radiance is someone who is really able to continuously pour into herself, and thus makes it easier for others to want to pour into her. For women who are listening who are in relationships, this is really important too, because once you get into long-term relationship, really important that you continue to pour into yourself.
How do you keep it sexy as a pregnant woman and a woman with a young child in your marriage? And what's like the hardest thing about keeping it sexy as a mother?
I would say,
hi and welcome to this Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. I'm going to sit down today with Mel Wells, and she is a graduate of my VITA coaching certification, and she is a mentor to women who want to find love, magnetize love, and be in love, and specifically for women who feel that they've struggled with love. And if you're super successful and entrepreneurial, but you haven't figured out how to make it in love yet, this podcast is definitely for you. Or if you feel like you kind of cycle attracting the same kind of situation over and over again, you love red flags, you love the person who's unavailable, you love the person who doesn't choose you, this podcast will give you a lot of strategies and approaches to help you shift from putting yourself into hunter mode into being magnetic. And that shift can really help you have the love that you truly, deeply desire. And as a final piece in this podcast, also help you feel how worthy you are, and of this sweet prayer that Mel shares, which is to know that the person you're looking for is out there praying for you. Like it's their highest desire to find you. And I'll share a practice that you can do to really anchor that as real, to trust how worthy, how desirable you are, and how ready you are to be chosen on all levels. So Mel Wells is a love and leadership mentor for successful female entrepreneurs. She empowers women to create love lives and intimacy they deeply crave by fully understanding and embodying their feminine power, unlocking their wild magnetism and irresistible energy. Welcome, Mel. So for those of you who are not seeing this visually, Mel is, she says 11 weeks from birthing this baby, but she looks like she's about to birth it now. And I was saying that I would love for someone to go into labor on the podcast, but that is in fact not going to happen, but it looks as though it could happen. And for those of you who can't see, she is actually wearing a short cheetah stretch dress, which looks exquisite on her. And I think is how we always wanted pregnant women to be able to dress.
Thank you.
So incredibly hot.
Thank you so much. It's increasingly more and more of an accomplishment when I find something that feels sexy being this pregnant. Yes. So I appreciate that.
Well, you look hot.
Thank you.
So I'm so happy to have you here. We're friends. You did VITA coaching, and I was on your podcast years and years and years ago. And one of the things I'm most excited to talk to you about is you really specialize in supporting women, and especially women who are really going for it in their careers, they're high achieving, what you help them be successful at love. So I'd love to unpack this a little bit. Why do you see that this sort of archetype of woman isn't successful at love? Like what is it that you can get wrong?
Yes. Well, I'll speak from my own experience, as all of my work is, really stems from. And that is that a woman who is extremely successful in her career has really relied on her own qualities like strength, independence, pursuing her goals, having a vision, taking action, going after it, getting exactly what she wants. And she rightly so believes I can have anything I want. I can create anything I want in this life. But that same energy in love is actually repelling of a lot of the relationships that we actually want, because it puts us into this energy of hunting and chasing love. And so we start to find that we get into these patterns of wanting to be challenged by love, wanting to chase people who don't necessarily choose us, and essentially putting ourselves into this more masculine, dominant energy in dating, in love, which then doesn't attract the kind of partner that we actually want.
Or like, I want to solve a problem. Like,
yes.
give me a problem to solve.
Yes. Like I'm only interested in the partner that is completely emotionally unavailable, or makes me feel like I have a challenge to win instead of what I help my clients to do, which is actually understand and harness the power of the feminine energetics and see the feminine not as a submissive, weaker expression, but actually a superpower that can actually make them more magnetic and attract the partner that they want and the love that they want to them.
Yeah, what that brings up for me was like growing up, and it was like, oh, if you want to attract a man, you curl your hair just so and use this kind of hairspray and like wear this kind of outfit, right? And so at least for me, I was like, I don't want to attract anyone that way like that. I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to do that. And so I felt quite lost in the art of seduction or magnetism. And I remember I used to wish that like I'd had like, I don't know, I'd like grown up in a household with like she was like kind of French, kind of Persian, and like just like one of those like powerhouse queens, but she was like always wearing like jasmine and like the most elegant of clothing. She was also like kind of a bad bitch, like, and I think there was something about that I hungered for, this embodiment of magnetism, but power at the same time.
Yes. And that is something that a lot of women who have become very successful by being in their masculine don't necessarily realize is possible for them, because they think of feminine energy as less powerful, as weaker, as somehow not going to get them where they want to go in life. And actually the opposite is true. Like when you embody that archetype, it actually is extremely magnetic, extremely attractive, and it shifts how others show up towards you. So this is supportive in love. This is supportive in business, because you're not in the chasing and the hunting energy and the pursuing energy. You're in the attracting and the magnetic and the magnetizing energy.
All right, we're going to pause for just a moment, and I'm going to invite you to join my email list. You might be like, email, but honestly, email is where I share my deepest teachings, my most personal stories, and my most outrageously good content. It's also where you can stay connected to all of the podcasts that I release and my programs where you can train more deeply with me. So if you want to join, head over to laylamartin.com and sign up with your best email address. I think probably the closest science I've ever heard that's coming to me around this is that I actually like still kind of laugh thinking about this. And I can't quote the actual study, but I'll see if I can look it up. And like, it was like all of the theory of you attract a partner who is like your mom or your dad, or you attract a partner who like embodies the trauma of your childhood so you can like resolve it. And then I remember reading it and they were like, actually, your behavior creates a responsive behavior in your partner. And so people actually warp the person in front of them to behave like their family, because humans are very responsive. And so in that, I think people forget how powerful the way that you show up is in what it inspires other people to show up as. So break it down for me, maybe even if you want to use some examples in your own life of how did you used to show up in a way that like didn't work magnetically? Although it's hard to imagine men not being magnetically attracted to you no matter how hard you tried to push them away. But I'd love if there was an instance of that hear it. And then how you shifted and what you saw as a result.
Yeah. So So I was really already quite deep into learning about the feminine archetypes and feminine energy, but I hadn't really started learning about polarity in relationships. And I was in this long-term relationship that I was the one constantly leading. I was the one constantly asking for more affection, asking for more, always feeling like I'm not getting enough from this relationship, from this love, and always kind of pining for more and craving more. And really just having this strong desire for him to want to commit to me. So we've been together for 4 years, and I was like, I want to be engaged. I want to, start a family. Like, my fertility is like decreasing. Like, where are we going with this? And the more I would ask these questions, the more I would chase, the more I would control, the further away we would become and the more disconnected we would become. And the more I would go into that kind of mothering and that kind of complaining and nagging about my needs not being met, as opposed to being more in my feminine power, the more I noticed we would become distance, disconnect. And that relationship ended actually when he met someone else. And it was the biggest shock to my system. I was like, I never saw this coming. I thought we were forever. And I went into this deep portal of, taking responsibility for how I contributed to that dynamic. And what I started learning when I entered back, when I was ready.
Real quick though, he met this person at an ayahuasca ceremony.
That is correct.
Which is, I feel like that's our, like the spiritual, like generations, like version of work. Like he met her at work, he met her in an ayahuasca ceremony.
Right. Totally. And, I think, he developed this strong attraction for somebody else. And it was the perfect opportunity for him to exit out of a relationship that with me that he potentially had disconnected from a while before I even knew anything about it. But anyway, so much love, and so many lessons learned from that journey. Because after I had really taken the time to heal and mend my heart, I really started to take responsibility for how I had contributed and co-created a certain kind of dynamic. And it was not the dynamic that I actually wanted either. But I was so afraid of losing it that I would fight for it and chase and not be in my power. And so when I was single, I went on this deep journey of really owning my feminine power and coming into what I call the honeypot and allowing partners, suitors, when I was ready to date again, to come to me and no longer entertain anyone who was emotionally unavailable, anyone who was giving, me these red flag trauma bonds right from the word go and appeared like this challenge or this, because I'd realized in my past relationship, I had always been that one pursuing and initiating right from the start. And so I went on this journey to really understand what it's like to be more in your feminine when you're dating, and that not to be a weakness or a something that is less powerful, but actually I noticed it was more powerful. And what I say to my clients now is, if he's not moving towards you, if his energy is not moving towards you, then he's disqualified. Like we're only interested in partners who are actively initiating and choosing us, right? And so I like to use the example of 2 examples from nature, the sperm and the egg. So the sperm and the egg is one example. So when the sperm leads himself to the egg, the sperm is the masculine, the egg is clearly the feminine. Before the sperm leads himself to the egg actually emits a signal, an energetic signal of magnetism that says, I'm ready. I'm ready for you. I'm open and receptive, and I'm ready to choose the right sperm. And then the sperm leads himself towards you. The egg doesn't swim down to the birth canal. The egg doesn't, go out and look for the sperm. She just sits on her throne and she receives, right? And so that is our lesson in our feminine power.
I think the egg does actually then also choose the sperm though. She waits for the sperm to approach and then she selects the best sperm biochemically, which is something they didn't see originally. So
exactly.
You're like, come to me and then I will make the right choice.
Exactly. And this is the thing, is like, this is why another example of like in dating, keeping our energy open to several partners in the beginning, not sexually, but energetically, means that we get the choice and means that we get to see ourselves as the prize rather than what I see in some hyper, very successful, very focused clients is they see what they want and they want that man and they're going to go get him in the same way that they go get their business goals and they go get everything they want in their life. But instead, actually their deepest desire underneath, every successful girl boss with huge empires, like I always know there's just this deep craving inside of them to be chosen, to be cherished, to be ravished, to be taken care of, to be the one that is being gotten, not the one that is going and getting, right? And so another example in nature is when we look at the human body, we look at the penis and the vagina, and we look at the penis being this straight line, this line of direction. I'm going in this way. I'm pointing towards you. I'm moving towards you, hopefully at a speed that you want to be moved towards. Whereas the vagina is this cyclical, this circle, this oval shape, this representation of our cyclical nature as women. And when we think of the energy of the feminine, it's constantly like, it's a cycle, it's a spiral going deeper and deeper and deeper. And so in dating or in relationship, if we can, instead of have our energy forward, like direct, like this, like the penis, if we can have it more like the yoni and we're circulating this energy back towards ourselves, pouring back into ourselves, we become more and more and more magnetic and we allow that space to open for our masculine partner to move towards us.
This is Sex Magic, and it's designed to basically make your body feel more glittery, more turned on. It's got all kinds of amazing herbs in it. It's sweetened with monk fruit. It's colored with beetroot. It's got this beautiful combination of saffron in it and shilajit and all kinds of activating things, dopaminergics that make your body feel more pleasure. It's really powerful. Oh, and Huperzine A, which is a nootropic moss. That was like the thing we were the most proud of. We were like, we put so many herbs in it and it actually tastes good. Feel deeper arousal and heightened sensitivity in as little as 30 minutes. Try it now at shopmood.com. All right, well, we're talking about sexy nature. So
yes,
now would be the time for some sex magic from Mood, my supplement company.
Ooh,
cheers. So this is an amazing elixir that makes you feel glittery and alive and turned on.
Gosh. Wow.
Sweetened with monk fruit, so no sugar.
So good.
Yeah.
I feel zingy.
So I love the way I can tie this into my life is I did have that realization at a certain point of like, oh, I'm trying to be an entrepreneur in dating. But what that meant for me was that as an entrepreneur, I have been able to make something out of nothing. So if I put my mind to something hard enough, like I'm going to have the thing that I want to exist, like the product or the sale or the retreat or the podcast studio or the flowers, like whatever it is, it's like I imagine it and I can make it so.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I had to really wake up to with love is like, you can't make love so. It's like it either is or it isn't. And then you can nurture it. You can cultivate it. You can keep it active, right? You can feed it, but you can't make love be there if it's not there. And you certainly can't make it be there for somebody else.
Yeah.
And Alison Armstrong was actually very instructive for me. I did coaching with her when I was like dating. And she just really kept harping about how men are simple in some ways, but by simple, she means true. Like they do what they want and they say what they mean. And also that they know a lot more than our like mainstream media lets on. You know, like I grew up with a lot of like guys are like burping and eating fried chicken and watching the game or whatever kind of thing. So like there's like this brainwashing to not trust that a man knows what he wants. You know, it's like, he doesn't know what he wants because he doesn't really want that chicken. You're like, no, he does. He actually wants that chicken. Like that's exactly what he wants to be doing.
Yes.
Is eating that bucket of chicken. So in that, it was this realization of like, oh, like they're not confused and I have to sell them on this idea. like they know what they want.
Mhm.
And I either occurred to them as like, you are like a very rare type of love, and I could see myself marrying you.
Mm.
And you can't expect a man to know all the time right off the bat, but he
Mhm.
will know if he is considering you for that. Like if
Yes.
you fit the role for him. And by role, I don't mean like a superficial thing. I mean, I could see myself
Mhm.
being with this woman. And I really learned to trust that. And also that, yes, like men go after what they want.
Yes.
And that is, it's funny because I've been watching Sex and the City again. I've been like resting a lot and recovering from like a period of like some cyclical colds and stuff like that. And in that, I'm rewatching the entire series of Sex and the City. And I got to the burger episode, which I forgot that the phrase, he's just not that into you, comes from Sex and the City. I think of it now as a book and a dating theory and all of that, but actually it was the writer of Sex and the City. He was actually a comedian, and he said it to a group of women in the Sex and the City office, like writing room, who were basically going on and on and on about like, oh, he'll call you and it'll be okay. He was like, no, he's just not that into you.
Yes. It's such a huge realization. I had this, it's so humbling. And I had this when that last relationship fell apart, because I could have told myself all these stories about he's just not ready for commitment, and actually he was just not ready to commit to me.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean that he wouldn't be ready to commit to someone else. Right? And so you have to realize like there's actually a lot of validity to the statement. If he wanted to, he would.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's important to look at men's actions. Look at the way, like, is he moving towards you or not? If he's not, it's not your job to chase after him and do all these emotional gymnastics to figure out his wounding and his trauma and why he's not ready to do such and such and such, and why you have the plan and you're going to make him see, blah, blah, blah. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a good wake up call for that, like right before I got together with Babak, and I was dating someone that like it was the opposite of what you're supposed to do, and that he was saying all the right things of like, oh, like I could see you as my partner and I feel this like really intense feelings for you. And this was like the best sex that we ever had. But then like wasn't really coming to see me, wasn't really actively pursuing me. And I remember telling one of my male friends at the time, I was like, yeah, he's in Miami. He'll come visit me when he can. And he was like, he has a plane, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, he would be in Los Angeles if he wanted to see you.
Completely.
And I was like, oh, it's true.
It is. It is. And like, we have to remember when we're single, like, men can say all these things and paint a beautiful picture of the future.
Yeah.
But if he is not actively moving towards you, then put your energy elsewhere.
Yeah.
Stop focusing on him.
Yeah.
Because he's not focused on you.
Yes.
He's saying all the things, and I'm sure a part of him likes that idea, but at the end of the day, it is just words and fantasy until he's actually taking action.
Yeah. And I think for all of us, it's very important to remember that fantasy in some ways is always more titillating than reality. Like your idea of anything is, whether it's a holiday, whether it's the amazing dress, whether it's like the night out, whether it's having children, right? Like the fantasy is always more titillating. And I use the word titillating because reality can be far more beautiful, but it's always real. And so what I really found in that dating crucible right before I met Babak was, at Burning Man, that one particular guy that I was dating, the same one, like I was going and finding him. Like we were supposed to go on dates, but like I would go to his camp. I was looking for his arc. I was like doing all this.
Yes.
Whereas the two, Babak and this other guy I was dating, like the best example of this to me is like when I got there, I had to like text that guy the coordinates of my camp and like make sure that he knew where to find me. And then I went to go look for him and found him on his archive. Whereas this other guy who came to Burning Man, I don't know how he found the coordinates of my camp, but the moment he got there, it's like there's 70,000 people at Burning Man, and he found me at the party I was at the camp I was at. He must have asked one of my friends, came straight up to me on stage and was like, hi, can you show me where your tent is so I can take you out on a date tomorrow? And I was like, Layla, go for that thing.
Yes.
But the thing I had to register in my nervous system was like, oh, these men are real now. Like they're real and what's happening is real. And this idea of the other guy is still so like, and especially because he's saying all the right things. So like, oh no, but he's the one who's like professed his love to me rather than these are the ones coming to find you.
Yes.
And that's what matters.
Exactly. And for the woman who is so used to being attracted to the challenge of something that is just out of reach, but she thinks if I could just make him change or make him come to me or make something happen, then I would feel more accomplished.
Yeah.
Because it's in the doing that we have received so much validation and so much of our worthiness if we are successful, highly accomplished women. And so we believe I have to go out and do, or we see partners as projects, or, oh, he's unavailable, I'll be the one to make him change. And obviously a lot of this also comes from the deep trauma of our childhood and our parents' childhood and as far back as it goes and all the different layers. But rewiring ourselves for healthy love means being available for the people who are actually choosing us, not the ones who are rejecting us or giving us these breadcrumbs of love. And we're seeing that as incentive to do more.
Yeah.
Right.
If you wanted to learn sacred sexuality with your partner and deep dive into the most exquisite intimacy, I created the Tantric Mastermind with my beloved Dr. Babak Amen to be able to take you on the journey of a lifetime. This program includes 2 live retreats, one in a castle in England, one in the magical deserts of Sedona, so that you can learn sexual mastery and the art of the deepest intimacy and fall in love in the most magical ways together in these incredible locations. It's meant to be the education of a lifetime, but also the romantic adventure of a lifetime. If you're curious to learn more, head on over to laylamartin.com/tantric mastermind. I think something so helpful that I said to myself was I had a friend like a couple of years ago, and he was in a marriage. And from my perspective, his partner was treating him very poorly, was not choosing him, and that he was really showing up, like doing the work, trying really hard, going to therapy, like wanted to save their marriage with like the fullness of his being. And he called me one night in tears and he was like, I know that we are both co-creating this situation and I am trying like with the wholeness of my being to own my part in it. And I was like, well, maybe sometimes your co-creation is in what you tolerate. And that like what you choose to allow is what you're fully co-creating. And so I think for all of the time that so many of us spend in hope or like, oh, this person's not giving me what I want, but like maybe one day, right? Or maybe I can fix it or change it or make it. And it's sort of like, if you spend the time doing that, then your responsibility is in what you're allowing. And I think, and I'd be interested in your perspective on this, underlying that behavior for most of us, certainly for me, it was the case, was like, I'm so terrified of being chosen or like so terrified that I'm actually like unlovable at the core, that I would rather be in this fantasy game of chase or this like feeling of like I could make something out of nothing, because real love is kind of terrifying when it comes to you're like, oh shit.
Completely. And everyone has variations of, different wounding from our childhoods. But so often it's like we choose the love that feels familiar even when it hurts us, because we have a story that we are always rejected. And it feels more comfortable for us to continually be rejected or continually be not chosen. And when someone is choosing us or moving towards us, we feel suffocated or we feel like, I don't know, this doesn't feel safe, right? And so that is such a deep aspect of the work, is like allowing that healthy love to be even something that we are available for. And instead of shutting down the guy that is really actually the green flags guy and chasing after the red flags guy, is actually recognizing like, oh, like how does this feel in my body? And actually like, can I just slow down and receive all of the blessings that God is trying to bring into my life through the healing work that I've been doing is manifesting in who's showing up in my life. And so when I met Sean, who's my husband and father of my children, one child at home, second to come, there was no confusing signals to decipher. There was no, oh, he hasn't texted me back. Oh, is he going to call? Is he not going to call? Is he seeing someone else? He let me know every step of the way how he felt about me. And he showed up with not just his words and his fantasy stories about the future, but actions.
Yeah.
I'm flying here on this date. I'll pick you up at this time. I'll be here. I want a future with you. And actions followed words every single time. And I wasn't having to decipher or text my friends, what does this mean? What does this mean? I'm insecure about this. I'm insecure about that. Because I just knew where I stood the whole time, which created a lot of safety.
Yeah. Still to this day, the Instagram quote that changed my life and my mind was, if he wants you, you will know. And if he doesn't, you will be confused, right?
Yes.
You could always take that. You can take that to the bank. And a couple of different places a couple of different things I want to explore with you. Like the first is with so much of this out there of like women being too masculine and they will never find love. Like what will contract me a little bit is I feel like some women hear that as like, I should not pursue my dharma. Or I shouldn't go for what I want. And I know that you have built your business and your brand and done a fabulous job going after your dharma. So what would you say to women who hear messages like this and they're like, oh, should I not be so entrepreneurial? Should I not go for what I want in my career?
Yeah, the way that I love to answer this question is to really feel into the energy of the different feminine archetypes. So we have the maiden archetype, the mother archetype, the queen, and the huntress, just to name a few. And when a woman is in this energy of building her business, I see it more as she's in this huntress energy. You know, she's going after what she wants. She's going and getting it. She's focused. She's determined. But when a woman is in that energy all the time in her business, it can burn her out very quickly, right? She can start to feel exhausted. She can start to feel stressed. She can start to feel overworked and under-supported. When she elevates herself actually into the queen archetype, she allows herself to lead her business as the visionary, right? And it's leading from that place of power without force. Sorry, I keep hitting this mic.
Naughty, Mel.
I know, I'm trying so hard.
Your gorgeous nails can't help but just like stroke the mic.
I know. When a female leader allows herself to lead from the archetype of the queen, as opposed to being in the huntress, she allows herself to lead from this elevated archetype of allowing herself to be fully supported, allowing herself to be the visionary, as opposed to being always on the front lines, doing everything, controlling everything, micromanaging everything. So two very different archetypes. And embodying the queen in your leadership can also translate into embodying the queen in your love life. And both are going to be extremely successful. But embodying the huntress in your business might get you results, but embodying the huntress in your love is going to be detrimental to your love life. So that's why the work of feminine archetypes can be really helpful with this, because absolutely, like, we are both visionaries who have extremely big, beautiful empires. But what I see in both of us is we know that our value in the world is not about how much we do. It's about who we're being and how that is magnetic. And that is the difference.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to say for everyone listening that for me, like the path of love is also like you listen and you also hear what's true for you, just like spirituality, right? Because I think there's so much to what you're saying that's so incredibly beautiful. And like Annie Lala, who I really admire, and she's this wonderful like teacher on love. She was like, I hunted Eben down. She's like, yeah, I've had him in my sights and I hunted that man down. You know, he even started dating someone else and like he didn't get it at first. And I like chased him and I showed him. Like 10 years later, they have this like beautiful like baby and love and marriage. And Natalie like dated, like she was running a business. She went on 250 dates and like had like spreadsheets and like labels and all that. And then she literally reached the end of the stack on Bumble in Los Angeles. Like she literally, I didn't even know this was possible, that you could like hit the last possible person on Bumble. And it was like, you have reached the end of your potential people on Bumble.
That is hilarious. I did not know that.
And her soulmate, Yosef, was in that final stack. Like they actually matched, and he was in that final stack. And so she dated very much like in this entrepreneurial mindset. But Annie and Natalie both have their own capacity, to me, like that's very innate in them, of being in queen, what you're talking about, of like holding this vision and holding this amazingness. And the only reason I share that is because I think it's so valuable at the end of the day for all of you listening who are like, I want to be loved so much. I want to find that person so much, to like listen so deeply to like, what is your universal path, and like what inspires you, and like what do you feel is like your actual path to being fully magnetic to love. Because one of the things that I see, and I think you embody this and hold this so well, is this like feminine radiance. And I feel like a lot of women they make themselves wrong for all their choices. And so I'm just inviting everyone to like not make themselves wrong, but to listen for like where your expansion is. Like, where is the universe calling you forward to be even more available to love, to being even more magnetic, and to knowing, if you're listening to this and you're like, I have chased because I haven't let myself imagine that someone would choose me that deeply, to shift into the deep knowing of that deep knowing that you deserve to be chosen, that deep knowing that there is someone out there who would move towards you and stop for nothing.
Completely. And this is where your spiritual practice, your relationship with God or the divine, a higher power, is so important in this, because really trusting the mystery of life and trusting the partner that God has for you is actually manifesting you. So, we do so much work on manifestation and calling in exactly what you want. And actually the partner that you desire is actually dreaming of you. And so allowing yourself to be in that, like, I am not just desiring, I am being desired, I'm being dreamed of, I'm being prayed for. Like the partner that I want is actually dreaming of me. And like how, like allowing that to flood your body with just this knowing and this safety of, I can't control the timing and I can't control where I am or when it's going to be, or, all of these things. I just have to trust that it's happening on God's time. And when we allow ourselves, this is something that I did when I was single. I was just like, I trust that he's coming and I don't need to do anything to go get him. I trust that he's coming. And when I really allowed myself to feel that trust, it made me so much more available to really enjoy where I was right then and really just romanticize that season of my life so much, because I wasn't trying to constantly get to a different season. I was like, wow, he's coming. I don't know when, but I know that he's coming. I trust life. I trust God. And so right now, this is probably my last season of being single. So I'm going to enjoy it so much. And I'm going to romanticize it and just pour into myself and just love it. And I look back at that chapter of being single, and it was one of the best seasons of my life. I enjoyed my life so much. I didn't spend it wishing to be somewhere else. And so I think that's the magic of being single, is instead of the unknown of where is he, when is he going to show up, allowing that to put us into fear and control and scarcity, instead of being like, I don't know when this is going to happen. Can we allow ourselves to be excited and enjoy the mystery of, I don't know when it's going to happen. Like, I'm in the unknown. How exciting this is.
I'm excited to tell you about my 6-week self-pleasure training, Obliss. This is the first course I ever made, and it has been going for over 10 years now. Most of us are never taught the tools required to create deeply rooted self-love, which not only leaves us feeling disconnected from our bodies and ourselves, but what a lot of people don't know is that a foundation of self-love is crucial to building the deepest connections and experiencing the most ecstatic pleasure with others as well. My 6-week sexual masterclass for women, Obliss, trains you to have the ultimate orgasm and fall deeply in love with yourself and your body. You'll heal your sexuality, address old wounds, face things like fear, guilt, shame, and shutdown, and be able to heal and integrate them, and discover how to access the deepest, most profound self-love. So whether you're just dipping your toes into the magic of Tantra, or you are a seasoned sacred sexuality practitioner, you can use Obliss to expand your pleasure capacity and to access the most exquisite self-love. You can join Obliss today. You can get started right away at laylamartin.com/Obliss. That's OBLISS, O like orgasm, and then bliss, laylamartin.com/Obliss. And to really hold that prayer, right? What is your prayer? My prayer is the highest love, or my prayer is to be in a happy marriage. My prayer is to be chosen so deeply by someone that I love, and to really own those prayers on a regular basis. And one of the things that I would do is I would make those prayers and then I would say, and show me what I need to do to be able to realize that, because I will do whatever it takes. Because I knew that I was blocking love on some level. I knew that I had terror. I knew that I was willing to run after someone that wanted to be chased. And so I laid it out on the altar. I was like, these are my highest prayers, and show me what to do, because I'll do whatever it takes. I think sometimes people don't like when I say I'll do whatever it takes, but I'm like, yes, but that was a sacred prayer to the universe. So it's also implied that I'm not going to lie, cheat, steal, and do something horrific, because it's it's a statement to God. And I know what God would ask of me, right?
Yeah. And show me who I need to be as well, and what I need to say no to and not be available for anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Because so often we're taking up our time and energy with a multitude of people or connections that we know deep down are not what we want.
Yeah.
But we think, well, this is better than being alone. It's better than having no attention on me or no connections.
Yeah.
And actually, those connections are draining so much of our time and energy that we're not available for the real thing.
Yeah. And I think sometimes the way to get through that, when you know you're doing it, right? Because when we shame and judge ourselves, it just compounds the whole thing. But I love a long, long time ago when I did Mama Gina's mastery, before we were as close as we are now, she was like, look, if you're going to eat a potato chip dinner, I want you to lay out the potato chips on your finest bit of china and lounge in your underwear and eat your potato chips like there's no tomorrow. So for those of you who are I'm still going after the red flags, I'm still hunting so hard, not even the prey that wants to be caught, but the thing that's never going to get caught because it's faster than me or has more claws or whatever. Just to be see if you can find the delight in it and the ownership of it. Lay that bad dating behavior out on your finest piece of china and eat it in your underwear. Because one of the things that I find is that people are oh God, I'm still chasing the man who's ghosting me. And you're but do it with class. And I feel when you bring that awareness into it and you can laugh at yourself and you can laugh at the universe, that's one of the most powerful ways to go through a kind of emotional addiction, if you want to think of it like that, is bring your presence and bring your sense of humor about the whole thing.
I love that. Instead of splitting out and watching yourself doing something that you know that you don't want to do, but you're doing it anyway, and then you feel all the guilt and the shame. Yeah, I love that. Own it and then decide if I don't want this, I'm going to make a different choice next time.
I had this great moment at that Burning Man where it was okay, these two men chasing me and wanting me and going on fabulous dates. And I just couldn't help myself. On the Saturday night, which is one of the last nights of Burning Man, I went back to the man's camp who was not pursuing me. And I was no, he wants me. He really, I know. Yeah. And we had this walk around and he was telling me how much he wanted me, but he just couldn't choose me because he was afraid or whatever. And at the end of it, I watched him literally ride off into the sunset. Like they literally actually rode into the sunset, making out on the art car. And I remember like literally watching it, just standing there in the dust. And I was like, you have chosen this.
Yeah. I had a similar realization myself after that last breakup happened, and he literally chose another woman over me, and I'd made all these stories of he's just not ready to commit to who I am, and he just can't handle me in my fullness, and he's not ready for a queen, and all of these, it's because of his childhood, blah, blah, blah. And even after he literally chose someone else, I was still chasing like, no, you don't really want her. You actually, these are the reasons that you're choosing her. And actually, you really want me. I would witness myself and be like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm chasing after someone who's clearly not choosing me. And I think you get to a point where you like a switch just flicks and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm good.
Totally.
What am I doing? Wait a second. You're like, zoom out and watch yourself and you're like, no.
It's like you're 3/4 down the ice cream pint or whatever. And you're like, I'm done. I'm actually complete here now.
Yes. No.
And I really want to say, like, and I really like hammer this point home because we got sold such a lie that like to be chosen and to be devoted to and to be in marriage, it's like, oh, only if you're like under age 25 and like have the perfect silky hair or whatever. And first of all, like that turned out to be total bullshit. But I have personally witnessed so many experiences now of the most extraordinary love stories, both Alison Armstrong and Mama Gina in their 60s. When their like next true love like found them, you know, Regina, like 2 proposals actually in the most glorious of ways. And so to never discount the possibility of being fully chosen at every stage in your life, and something that was like so radically powerful and even healing for me, because I've done so much work on this to really see the truth. And I mean it when I say that the women I know in the happiest marriages, it has nothing to do with their age. It has nothing to do with their physical looks, and everything to do with more of what we've been talking about. A level of radiance, a level of majesty, a level of engagement with life. Like even my mom right now, she's like telling me stories of like all these men hitting on her. She's like a magnet. She's 67. She's not even fully available for living. She's like a magnet. And my mom is a firecracker. She is one of the most alive people. She's so grateful for the stars and the birds. And like men feel that in her and they're deeply attracted to that. So beautiful. And recently, 2 of my friends who are both 45, both single mothers, both got divorced, then had a relationship that they thought was the thing, and then both realized it wasn't the thing, and both had the courage to leave a relationship at 45 with a child, being like, no, I'm going to find my thing. And both of them were at an event with me in Ibiza. And the 2 like most stunning bachelors there, both in their 30s, one 34 years old, one 39 years old, like both of them could date like models, did date models, could date like have any choice they wanted. And both of them like made a beeline for my friends who are both like badass entrepreneurs, but like filled with life and filled with magic, right? And you can be a female entrepreneur and be filled with life and magic, right? It's like,
oh my goodness,
one of the points of being an entrepreneur.
Secret sauce.
Yes,
right. It's
like,
your magnetism is only going to create more and more success for you in your entrepreneurial. Like this is the secret sauce. This is the superpower.
Yeah.
And you know, in order to be in that radiance, that really requires you to be someone who continuously pours into yourself instead of being someone who's constantly depleted because she's overgiving, you know, like emptied out because of she's exhausted, she's not seeing her own value, she's not putting her own boundaries in place, you know. So a woman who is in that radiance is someone who is really able to continuously pour into herself, and thus makes it easier for others to want to pour into her.
Yeah.
Right. And so for women who are listening who are in relationships, you know, this is really important too, because
if we haven't lost you already,
yeah, if we haven't, yeah, we probably lost you.
Really been talking to the singles, but in case you're still here, we see you.
Yeah, let's just say once you get into relationship, once you get into long-term relationship, really important that you continue to pour into yourself, as opposed to go into the mother archetype, which can happen in relationships where you are overgiving to everyone around you and not you. And then the polarity actually starts to die because this resentment starts to be created and you are no longer in your radiance. And instead you are constantly feeling like, I'm being disappointed, I'm being let down, I'm constantly not feeling like he's giving enough to me. And he's constantly feeling like there's nothing I can do that will make her happy, right? So a woman who is really responsible for her own pleasure and responsible for her own happiness is easy to love, is easy to be poured into, is easy to be adored and cherished.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll circle back to that final little piece, which is like, I just want everyone to really feel how our society fed us this toxic lie that like, oh, a single mother of a certain age, like who will date her? And it's like, no, those aren't sad stories of women who are like sitting at home, like accepting poor behavior because it's all that there is left. It's like, no, they're out there living their best lives and magnetizing truly like the hottest, most eligible, younger, might I add, men. And so that we can write the narrative of our own love stories and our own lives and our own magnetism, which is what's required to do what I hear you saying, right? Because actually being magnetic, you have to believe that you can attract the thing that you most want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a little pause from the podcast, and I'm going to tell you about my signature 1-year program. This is the VITA Sex, Love, and Relationship Coaching Certification, and it is for you if you have dreamed of giving your gifts as a sex, love, and or relationship coach with a holistic and spiritual lens. This program starts as a personal deep dive, allowing you to transform your own experience of sex, love, and relating. It then trains you in a profound methodology that allows you to become a confident and masterful coach, and it trains you in business skills so that you can effectively sell your coaching packages to high-end clients in a way that feels heart-centered and filled with soul. If you want to have a lifestyle that you are super excited about, create your own work hours, and have a meaningful impact in the world, go to laylamartin.com/VITA coaching. That's VITA, laylamartin.com/VITA coaching. So fascinating to understand about the mothering, right? Is like a lot of past marriages, the Eros died and men were kind of looking for a mother. Like, I want you to cook for me and clean for me and like snap at me sometimes, but like keep it together for me kind of thing. And that was what some of us saw as a relationship. And also I think remembering that like, no man's going to turn down a mother, like we all want to be like snuggled and fed and like have someone be like, darling, isn't it time to go to bed? Right. And also there's no Eros in that. So like a man will usually accept it because it feels nice, but he won't want to fuck it usually, like unless there's some kind of fetish there. I'm not going to wrong anyone.
Yeah. And this is why so many people fall into this trap in relationships, because it's easy to do, because for the woman who's used to controlling everything and managing everything, being in the mother archetype comes very naturally, right? And so it takes a certain amount of awareness to resist the urge to do that, because he probably will accept it.
Yeah.
And not realize that, oh, we're not having sex anymore. And oh, I don't want to pursue initiating the chemistry, and the eros has died.
Yeah.
But it feels very comfortable. So we're just going to keep plodding along. And then the resentment grows and grows over time. And she falls into patterns of, why is he not moving towards me? Why is he not initiating? Why is he not stepping up? And he falls into patterns of, nothing I do is ever enough. She's always criticizing me. She's always complaining. And then relationship starts to, wither away, and people start to feel, maybe there's something else out there for me, right? Yeah. When actually having that awareness from the start, I think, is really important, especially if you are someone who has a very strong, nurturing mother archetype, and you are a mother, or you want to be a mother, and that comes very naturally to you to take care of others. When we do that to our partner, like when we mother our partner, he will show up as the child, right? The mother creates the child, the mother and the child dynamic. But when we allow ourselves to stay in the queen or stay in the lover, we attract the hunter or the king instead. And so keeping the awareness of that is such important work, and something that I believe is a daily practice.
And how do you keep it sexy as a pregnant woman and a woman with a young child in your marriage? And what's like the hardest thing about keeping it sexy as a mother?
I would say we have almost been told that like being the mother is not sexy. And actually, I have reframed that to being pregnant, being a mother is like the ultimate sex symbol, really, because it's fertile and it's juicy and it's luscious, and my body is more curvy and abundant, and and like allowing myself to be turned on in that instead of seeing that as the opposite. So that has been something that I've been practicing since I entered into the motherhood portal, let's say. Yeah.
And how are you like such a good mother to your children? But how do you then make sure to keep that erotic alive with your husband?
Yeah. So again, it comes back to this work of archetypes. So like allowing him to see me and witness me in the mother for our babies, but not bringing that energy into our relationship. So being really aware of not controlling, complaining, criticizing, correcting, like all of these things that we do that is the shadow of the mother archetype, because we care so much and we want them to thrive, but actually letting him be in his leadership and actually letting him lead me in a lot of ways and like receiving from him instead of being the one constantly pouring in and giving to him, and actually like really trusting him to lead the family as opposed to, well, I must do it all. I must give to everyone. I must be in charge of everything. Like not giving into the part of me that could do that. Like totally good.
Yeah.
But doesn't feel good. And I know it's not leading me where I want to go.
I think that's a big difference between the lover and the queen and the mother, is in many ways the mother's like, you need me to take care of you. Like you need this and you need me to keep you from making mistakes or like fucking up your life.
Yeah.
Whereas like the lover's like, fuck up your life and enjoy it.
Exactly.
And the queen's
I'll be here.
The queen's like, I trust you to not fuck up your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think is really amazing. So let's play a little game, right? I would say after I left my partnership, right? And I had like quite a few sleepless nights and I was just like up at 4 a.m. I'm not going to say anyone else ever does this, but I'm imagining maybe if I did it, you might do it sometimes. I'd be up at 4 a.m. and I was like, oh God, I'm dying alone. Oh God, I'm dying alone. Oh God, I'm dying alone. Right. So if you were the fairy godmother with your wisdom, like what would you whisper into my or anybody else's ear who's there at that 4 a.m. moment where you've totally lost your mind and you are in fact sure you're going to die alone?
Oh, there's someone out there that's just dreaming of you and praying for you, and you are somebody's answered prayer, and you can't control when or where you're going to meet this person. You can't put yourself in the perfect spot to make it happen. There's not a list of things that you need to do, but just trust and believe that love is coming for you.
Yeah.
In the most probably unexpected, surprising way.
So unexpected. Yeah. I had a whole dumpster fire, like yacht trip to Croatia that led me to the love of my life. And I was literally like, why did this trip even happen? And then led me to him.
Yeah. Mine was, I was in Costa Rica in Nosara, and my friend who was also the filmmaker on my retreat broke down on the side of the road and randomly ran into her boyfriend's friend from LA. And she was like, what are you doing in Costa Rica? And he was like, what are you doing in Costa Rica? They're like neighbors in LA.
Yeah.
And just this random meeting. And she was like, do you want to come to dinner tonight? Because I'm having dinner with a bunch of girlfriends, and do you want to just come since I just bumped into you and it's so random? And she texted me and was like, I just ran into my like boyfriend's friend in LA. Like, is it okay if I bring him to dinner? He's good people.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's a girl's dinner. I don't really want a guy to be there. And I was just like, oh, whatever, fine.
Yeah.
And he became the love of my life. Yeah. So stay open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what is, okay, so for someone who wants, actually, we'll cut that little part. So the exercise I could see, and I actually did this myself. If you're like, no one's praying for me, like I can't even imagine someone praying for me, is to literally imagine them praying for you and dreaming that you would come into their life. And if you don't think men do that, I can't tell you how many of my friends are like, I want to meet my queen. Like at a party, I'm like, how you doing? They're like, I'm looking for my queen. And like, that is actually very, very, very pervasive. And to breathe through anything that comes up, like any resistance, any disbelief, any unworthiness, like breathe into your body and let it come up and let it come up and do it until you know that that person is doing that. You know that that person is out there dreaming for you.
And I also just want to add to that, if you exist with all of your dimensions and, layers and textures and shadows and light, and if you exist in all of your magic, so do they.
And I'd love to get 2 take-home practices from you. One is, I'm in Hunter, how do I switch to queen? And I'm in Mother, how do I switch to lover?
Ooh, so a Huntress to queen, I would really say, is about releasing control and calling in more support, allowing yourself to be supported by more people who can help you with the mission instead of you feeling like this is my mission and only I can be at the forefront of this helm. So calling in support, allowing yourself to be the visionary and have the vision and download the vision to other people who can help execute the vision instead of you doing all of the executing. And
in some ways in the dating, you've kind of said this, it's like, as queen, you're holding the vision. This person is praying for me. This person is going to choose me. This is the dream of what's happening and the vision of what I'm creating. Not like I'm out there making him text me back.
Exactly. Like release the control and stop over analyzing all of the behaviors and all of the actions. And then he did this and then I did this, and like let go of that, hold the vision and the prayer, and allow yourself to be like the queen is like the egg, she stays on the throne instead of she's not out on the front lines. So just like hang back and like hold that power on your throne and let them come to you. And then mother to lover.
Yeah.
Mother to lover is really about resisting the urge to pour everything into someone else, into everyone around you, and actually prioritize your pleasure. Come back to you. Come back to, what do I need to prioritize my pleasure and my bliss and my rapture today? And that in turn makes you so much more magnetic. And what else on that?
Like, I'm not going to bring you that bucket of chicken. I'm going to put on my lingerie.
Yes. Like being
I like the bucket of chicken is coming from my Sex in the City. For those of you who remember Sex in the City, Aiden likes to eat buckets of fried chicken.
Yes.
I've never brought a man fried chicken.
Yes. So when the mother wants to get what she wants, she complains about it or nags about it. And then the person on the receiving end feels obligated to do it because they've been told to do it and they don't want to get in trouble. Whereas the lover actually inspires someone to do it by becoming the invitation, but not nagging or complaining. So she becomes the invitation. She maybe expresses her desire in her pleasure. And then the partner rises to meet her. Yes.
Oh, it's been so beautiful connecting with you. And I love everything that you do and that you create. Will you share with people where they can follow you and where is best to stay connected to your work?
Yes, of course. Come hang out on Instagram at I am Mel Wells, where we all just hang out and you'll see everything I'm up to and hopefully we can connect there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. This is the home for the realest conversations about sex, spirituality, polarity, conscious relationships, and all kinds of topics that help us live the absolute most incredible lives. Please check out the next episode. Please go ahead and leave your rating and review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. It's so helpful when you do that. If you want to stay connected to me, the most helpful supportive thing you can do is to head over to laylamartin.com, sign up with your email address. That connects you to me if you want to study deeper with me, if you want to receive my deeper teachings. I do it predominantly via email. Finally, you can check me out on Instagram at @the Layla Martin. And thank you so much for being here.